think it'll be worth it. So that's really what got us, both him and me, into the journey. And since 2014 is when I've been involved with probably half a dozen such initiatives. Most of them have been new universities. So there are four new institutions I've been part of creating. Some of them you may know by name. There's OP Jindal University, which we started in, or I was part of starting in 2016. It's now a university that has about 1,200 students. In 2017, we started, I helped start a design university in Ahmedabad called Anant National University, which now has about 1,000 students in design and architecture. Then more recently in 2018, I was involved with starting actually a university for the government. It's the first sectoral university called the National Rail and Transportation University. And in fact, Rohit and Cornell are also our collaborators and supported us in starting that in 2018, which is now, this year with the new intake, it's about a 500 people university. Apart from that, I've been involved with a few transformation type of work. So the other university which I work very closely with is in Jaipur. Some of you, heard about that when we met in Jaipur a few years ago, and that belongs to the JK group. It's called the JK Lakshmipat University. It has schools of management, engineering, and recently we started a school of design, and that has about 700 students. So that's a little bit, my small, short experience in looking at universities. I think, I don't know. I mean, I can share one or two sort of insights or things which I have learned along the way. I think the big thing in India, and this I hear from people who work in academia around the world. I mean, the real thing which determines quality or lack of it is really faculty, and that's the big challenge. I mean, again, no big sort of aha in there, but just recognizing that it is the first, second, and third challenge for a quality university. I think is really the big thing to focus on. And considering that that's a global issue, or we don't seem to have adequate number of good faculty anywhere in the world, the answer, at least we have been working on, is to say, look, how do we use technology to some extent to overcome that issue? Because there doesn't seem to be any other way. You can't suddenly create professors and faculty. You can't suddenly transport faculty from one place to the other. Of course, we are fortunate that there are lots of folks, some of them on the call, people who are interested in India, committed to India, and are willing to come back given the right circumstances. So I think that's really been our focus in all of these universities, to make sure that you spend money not on building the you know the on the building and the infrastructure, because honestly, students will come to study, and they will get attracted to good faculty independent of where it is. Pilani is an example. IIT Kanpur, in spite of everything, and we can have a debate on that. It's not about the location. It's about actually faculty, I think. So really, that's been our focus, and then looking at ways of how to leverage technology to bring the experience of, or if not physically bring faculty, how do you virtually bring good faculty and that experience? And in that, we have kind of done a bunch of innovations. We've 500 we have 500 students in this National Rail and Transportation University, right? It's a government university, follows pretty much the same approach and guidelines and everything that you have at an IIT. We run 500 students with 5 full-time faculty. Now, I was talking about this to Amita, and uh, it's one, you may be surprised that how can we do that, but we decided that it's more important to get good quality faculty than to compromise and get good numbers. So we last year we had about 50 visiting faculty come and teach our students. And we had only 5 permanent faculty, and we are being very selective in recruiting any permanent or full-time faculty. So that's kind of been one uh, big theme in most of the experience I've had about how to look at building this. The other important thing is that in India, people don't think about student experience. I don't know what you feel, but the general the thinking is कि भाई अगर मजा आ रहा है तो कुछ गलत हो रहा है. you know Studies should mean pain, studies should mean challenging circumstances. अगर मजा आ रहा है तो फिर इसका मतलब पढ़ाई ठीक नहीं होती. uh, you know and honestly that ends up turning so many students away from education and from learning, that it's not fun. And so that's the other thing we learned from universities around the world. I mean, when students come back to India studying in Cornell or other places, they rave about the university. India में तो मैं किसी को नहीं सुनता who raves about, oh, it was so great, I went there. People always say खाना खराब था, कमरा खराब था, all of that stuff. So I think that's the other important thing we've seen, that if you focus on creating a good environment, a good student experience, that also matters a lot in order to attract good students and ensure learning. I think the third and the last piece, important critical piece, is about governance. And there, those of you who work in academia, I'm sure know this much better than I do. But the governance in Indian universities, whether it is public or private, is actually terrible. And many people I have known who come, who wanted to come back to India, who tried to come back to India and then couldn't stay here, went back, to either to the US or outside, because they just couldn't stand the system here. And in the private universities, it's the challenge is largely around, they're still most of them run by promoters, and you have very few board managed or academic managed universities. And there are reasons and challenges. If somebody is interested, I can talk about that. But creating a good governance system has been the third sort of focus for us in all these places. And in some places like Ashoka, we are starting to see the impact of that. My daughter went to Ashoka, and she raves and she's happy, and many students who I know who've studied there speak very well of that. The university has been able to attract and continues to attract and retain faculty from around the world. And it has been able to preserve, and these are early years, a sort of governance which allows such an environment to thrive. uh, in my view, I mean, a good university should be owned by everyone and should not be owned by anyone. That's the kind of governance it should have, where not one person kind of controls what happens in a university. So I think those are. I'll just stop here. I can go on and on. But from the little work that I have done in India, these were some of the things I have felt can make a difference. And I think there's a real opportunity for people who at this stage want to contribute in some ways to the Indian education system, because there are people who are willing to learn. There are institutions who are looking for good people to teach and to come and contribute in different ways. And I think there is now at least a set of institutions which are ready to do things differently. And so, in some ways, the ecosystem is a little bit better, or than it used to be earlier, in terms of people who may be thinking of coming to India and being part of the higher education system. So I'll just
So Asheesh,
yeah.
hey, this is Vishwa. So one of the other charters of these webinars is to know more about our colleagues. So now we know. I mean, we know you when we were in IIT. We know a little bit more about you after IIT. But can you tell us a little bit more about before IIT? where you grew up, and where you got your education. How was the education system there, and so on. Just a few minutes.
Sure, sure. No, so I'm a very standard, person. So I grew up in Dehradun, and so C. Gopal and I were kind of, they were, and there were several of us who came from Dehradun. Did my class 11th and 12th from Kendriya Vidyalaya, and I came to IIT by, that was again a very interesting accident almost. I had filled up my, I came there for, first of all, I wasn't interested in doing engineering. I was, for all my, class from 10th onwards, I was preparing for medicine. I got selected to AIMS, and then I got scared of studying for too long.
Oh
एंड
my gosh.
यार ये बीटेक कर लो, 4 साल का होता है, उसके बाद छुट्टी. सो आई सेड चलो ये बढ़िया है. So that's really how I came. And then somebody told me, I was probably a gullible guy, kind of guy. Somebody told me, bhai, electronics karni chahiye. So at my kind of rank, I couldn't have got electrical engineering in IIT Kanpur. So I very coolly, I had filled uh, electronics at IIT BHU, which is what I could have got. And I had submitted my form, and I was leaving when one of the professors caught me and said, "Ki bhai, what have you filled? What is your rank?" That's what they used to ask. What is your rank? So I told him. So he said, "Acha, acha, then you would have taken mechanical in IIT Kanpur." I said, "No, no, I am not interested in mechanical. I want to take electrical engineering." So why? And later on, I realized he was a professor of mechanical engineering. So he was really upset, and उसने मेरी काफी ली.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
and he made sure that I took back my form. I rewrote my form. I filled up
Oh
mechanical
my
engineering,
gosh.
so on. So yeah, so it was a really by chance that I landed up in IIT Kanpur, and like, I mean,
Good for us.
grateful to him. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. But yeah, that was my story.
But Ashish, amazing stuff. This is Arte Mishra. We just interacted after 30 years, just
Yeah,
3 days ago, man. And it's amazing stuff you're doing.
Oh, it's good to hear. RK, you are here for the
Yes.
first time, right?
No, 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 no. This is, I think, third time. I
Third
am
time.
usually the silent one.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, thanks
I,
for
I
joining us.
wanted to share a brief, encounter with Assis last year at Calcutta, and I think we happened to walk back or to go to our, the party place from where we were living, and I think that was probably first and
yeah,
only encounter that we had. I mean, during the IITK days, somehow we managed to avoid each other. And Osis sold me on something that time, which I have not yet fulfilled. And that was the idea that even though one of us could not become a full-time faculty, but we could if there is an interest and there is a common topic of interest among the one of his universities and our work, we could do a seminar to his students. And I was really intrigued by that idea. Of course, it takes a lot of work and preparation, and I wasn't really able to do that and get back to him. But I hope that offer still stands. But
absolutely.
that encounter was really, I mean, quite something. I mean, that was one of the very few uh, things that happened during that Calcutta get together that is kind of still imprinted in my mind. Just wanted to bring it up.
सो बाय द वे यार, ये मैं थोड़ा बदनाम हो गया हूँ क्योंकि मैं सबको पकड़ लेता हूँ. Anybody I meet, I say, "Bhai, aake." So lot of people here, I've kind of sort of conned them into doing a seminar or doing a, because you don't realize the difference it makes to the students on the other side. So if you can spare an hour, you can spare an hour, you can spare a day, you can spare a week, you can spare whatever you have to spare. Let me know, and I can assure you that you will make a difference to at least a bunch of people.
So, Ashish, I think on the other way, you have the full right on our time, being our colleague and fellow from IIT Kanpur. Just tell us when you want us, we'll be there, man.
Chalo, I'll take you up, RK.
I mean, not just us. I think all of us here. The very fact that we are here, please count us in, because I mean we are at that stage in life where if we can do something, if we can contribute, we should. And I'm sure all of us in that frame of mind. And please reach out anytime.
Thank you. Will do.
So I'll just share one slider he had sent, but he's too humble to show it here. Okay, and there is one thing you should know. So Asheesh and I were BTech project partners, and there are so many good things I learned from him. He will always be very humble, but there were so many things I learned from him while we were doing it. And we used to have royal fights of the reverse kind कि तुम मुझसे ज्यादा काम कैसे करते हो और हमें ज्यादा करना है. So last 1 year we were only doing BTech project. Actually, we were not studying. We were just doing the electronics things for a long time.
Sandy, हम लोग आज करते ना वो तो आज बड़ा relevant था वो. हाँ, we were a little
just 30 years earlier we were doing something which is very relevant today. So but that's fine. It was a great experience working with. I'll just share one slide which he had sent. So, but he was not just his journey part. So maybe you can see it. So can you see this? Let me do it. Yeah, just a minute.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So Asheesh, by the way, I'm amazed that you qualified for AIMS and IIT. That is unbelievable.
यार तब हो जाता था. I'm sure अब ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. Oops.
Can you see it?
No.
No, Sandeep.
It flashed for a brief moment and then went away.
Say एक सेकंड.
नहीं सैंडी उसमें कुछ ऐसा है.
सैंडी उसको बाद में भेज देना. It's okay.
अच्छा ठीक है. I'll do that. Okay. I'll just go back.
By the way, Sandeep, the user interface for Voxomo's, video thing has improved quite a bit since we watched the first one. So
yeah. We have to keep working on those things.
Yeah, I agree. I'm watching it on my iPad. The quality is really cool, Sandy. Amazing.
I'm experiencing it for the first time, Sandy. So this is, I mean, for me, it's like it could be Zoom, it could be. This is as good a quality as Google.
Yeah, we have to have a talk by Sandeep on how he went about building this stuff.
Yes, I agree. Vishwa. We should do that.
Proudly made in India.
Absolutely, yeah. There will be a talk.
Asheesh, where are you based in Delhi?
In Gurgaon, yes, Gurgaon.
So interestingly, I mean, last year I was there in India for an extended period of time, and I tried to meet people in Gurgaon, but Harsh and Asheesh and these guys avoided me. But we had a get together, but Asheesh had to go. There was some event at JKLU, the university that he established. So he was in Jaipur, but we didn't want to leave without meeting him. We actually made a plan to visit Jaipur. And it wasn't because of him, but we went there, and as we were going to see one event there in Jaipur, one of the palaces, our car broke down. I mean, the tire just punctured or something like that happened. And it just happened that the event for IIT annual reunion was going on in a big hotel nearby. So we had taken a refuge in that hotel while the car was getting repaired. And lo and behold, they were all there. I met Asheesh, I met Sanjay.
Both Sanjays were there.
Yeah. And I met a few other people from other batches. So जब मिलना होता है तो कहीं से भी चलो मिलेंगे.
कार ब्रेकडाउन से फायदा हो गया आपका.
Ashish, Ashish, given that you've been engaged with these initiatives, amazing. I mean, starting from Jindal, JKLU, now this. We spoke other day about railway. Ashoka, Pramath and gang has done a great job. What do you see? Because that's one thing. Example, all our kids, especially those of us who are in India, we end up sending our kids to US for a simple reason, and many of them having passports eventually are coming back. Um, what can be done both in the public and private? I mean, some things can be pushed in the public as well from the government. What do you think? As I understood, faculty is one. What else?
No, so I see. I think we need double the number of universities we have now. So there is room, and so we are at a very interesting time in history. In the next few years, there's an opportunity to create 600 more universities in India, right? And there's a need to create that. Now, obviously, you can create the infrastructure building. That is the easy part. But really, you need philanthropic capital, यार इसके लिए. Unfortunately, हमारे यहाँ, in spite of everything, philanthropic capital still is hard to get, huh? I know several other people who have started universities and big names, and they have, but अभी भी वो control नहीं जाता उनका. It's not like Ezra Cornell would say, look, here is the money and hand it over to people to run it, or academics to run it professionally. वो नहीं होता. So I think that's really the thing to solve for. The other is people will continue to go overseas because this capacity ain't going to. So let me, step back. Two sides to the solution. One is we have to help create more universities which are committed to quality, where there is good governance, and the rest then will follow. If that is that vision is there, and you set the governance right, then they will figure it out and they'll do it. I think the second part is that one has to look at overseas. Look at US. US has the ulta problem. There are so many universities which have faculty, great environment, infrastructure, all of that, but no students.
Correct.
And so there's an opportunity actually to buy universities in the US. And you can buy cheap these days. So that I think more of that will also happen. Which then takes away a little bit of a pain for people to go and study overseas. Yes, it will be more expensive, but I think that's something which we will continue to see for some time to come.
Very interesting. I think maybe that leads a trip probably to maybe once you come to Bangalore.
And see, the other thing is the technologies. COVID-19 has also really shaken up the value chain in education. I don't know how you guys see that in the US, but a lot of assumptions that everyone had about how university should be, how faculty should be, and all of that is breaking down. In some ways, it has accelerated a bunch of things that anyway you could see on the long horizon. So I think that also is a third force on in terms of the which way demand would go. So micro credentialing and a bunch of other things. I think those are also significantly going to change how demand for higher education will be there and will be met. Is my sense. And we are all crystal balling a little bit here.
Okay, so should we move on to Rohit now or Amita?
Yeah, I think we should move to Amita next.
Rohit is trying to save the best for the last, huh?
No. I'm just yeah. Please.
Achha,
I
theek hai,
want
chalo,
you
let's
guys
let's
to.
go, let's go, guys. It's
So
getting late
thanks,
here. So.
Asheesh.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amita, over to you.
All right. First, can I ask everybody to turn on their videos, please? I don't know many of you. I don't know what you look like. And unlike the friends who've been seeing each other for a long time, I don't think I've seen many of you. So may I please see your videos? Turn them on, please. Thank you. कौन है भैया? मुझे तो आधे लोग तो
आशीष
समझ में
है,
नहीं आ रहा
घटारे
कौन है।
है, रजित मित्तल दिखाई नहीं पड़ा है, हर्ष अनंसु दिखाई नहीं पड़ा है।
कौन है? किसी का तो नाम भी नहीं है। So who do I know? How do I know?
कपिल कपूर है,
अरे
आशीष
मास्क पहना हुआ कौन बंदा है?
या विवेक मुडगिल है, पंकज कुमार है, और ये बंदा जो मेरे हेयर स्टाइल में है, आई डोंट नो हु ही इज। जोशी, कम ऑन।
जोशी का फेस नहीं है। केशवन कौन है? संदीप 2 कौन है? सीताराम, प्रदीप, सीराम,
Alok
समीर, I don't
Sharan,
know.
hey buddy, how are you?
Hey Alok.
I joined from two places, so that's why you have
I see.
Sandeep 1 and 2.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm so many of you are probably seeing me after 30 years or more, and I'm definitely seeing many of you for the first time. So unlike जो लोग इस group में हैं, I don't know if I was part. I could truly say that I was part of the IITK community in the way that you guys feel like you were part of the IITK 89 community. And I think that's the one thing that in thinking about what we're trying to do here at Win Uni and what I feel very strongly that we should do for the future generations is to really बच्चों को the culture in a university um, is the single most important thing in my view, and that might be a different perspective from some of you. But what I felt when I was at IIT was that I came into IIT a self-confident girl, thinking that I had done well in school and that I would do well here as well. And in my years of IIT, my self-confidence was thoroughly smashed. And it wasn't because I don't think I think I'm pretty okay from an intellectual standpoint. I'm not as smart as many of you, but I'm okay. And I realized that I was okay after I graduated and I came to the US, and there were people who were able to tell me that, you know what, you're okay. You're doing good work. But I don't think in my 5 years at IIT anybody ever said that to me. And the strength that I got from IIT was not from the faculty, was from the friendships I made. And therefore, when those friendships didn't always pan out, the self-confidence got further shattered. So, abhi bhi main tum log ki jo, when I listen to you guys talk, you don't necessarily talk about how great some faculty members were, or how great the lectures were, or how much you learned in your lectures or tutorials. What I hear about is how much you enjoyed being with each other and how each of you helped each other. एंड आई थिंक कि हम लोग का विन यूनिवर्सिटी या जो भी हम लोग करें हैं इन द फ्यूचर, our single biggest responsibility should be to create a culture where students who come into our universities feel valued, feel supported, and whatever their talents are, they should feel like they can and should contribute. So faculty तो ठीक ही हैं, पढ़ाएंगे अच्छा, नहीं पढ़ाएंगे. Some of the best faculty are probably not the best teachers, but they can be very good supporters of students. So I think, that's just my perspective on what the biggest thing that higher education can bring. And, हम लोग के सबके बच्चे अब तो कॉलेज जा रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चे तो ग्रेजुएट कर गए हैं. My daughter is 25 and son Rishi is 20, कितना हो गया? 23 now. And what they remember about Cornell is how much they enjoyed Cornell, and they love their faculty. And they don't love their faculty just because they were good teachers. They love their faculty because they were able to go talk to them, and they are still in touch with them. So whatever we do, I think when university से हम लोग जब निकलेंगे 2-3 साल के बाद, so my only hope is that we would have created a culture at this university which is different from many of the Asian cultures, where in Asia, still here in Vietnam also, teachers don't think the students are worth anything. They just basically, you come, you give your lecture and you leave. So I hope that we can create a culture where students are valued a lot, where faculty feel like they are part of a community with the students, and whatever talent students bring to the university, they feel like that talent will grow and will be nurtured, and they will be valued and appreciated for who they are. So I don't have very much like sort of deep insights to offer, except ki, coming here to Vietnam, one of the things that's really struck me is कि यहाँ Vietnam में there isn't this culture of residential university life. And at Wien University, it's the first of the universities that has a good residential university life. And already we are seeing a huge, huge difference from uh, in the children's experience, just because they are able to live on campus and experience being with each other and experience sort of being supported in that way. So I think in the terms of adding value in Vietnam, मुझे लगता है कि ये जो culture है university का, which is different from many of the culture in the Asian universities, as well as the residential life, I think those two things will be, I hope that we can really make that the legacy of this place. And then actually, I just wanted to talk about, myself and Rohit and where we have been. As many of you know, we got married. कब हुआ था? 1991, I think, 1992, something like that. And when I meet anyone from the IITK 89 batch, the first question they ask is, "How come? तुम लोग क्या? How come you guys got married? We didn't know anything was going on, and how come you got married, and what happened?" And everybody is curious. So all I will say to you guys is get over it. We've been married for so many years. हो गया. So, but then, after we got married, I've basically been following Rohit wherever he went, and I've sort of carved a space for myself where he went. I started earning money a little bit earlier than he did, and then I quit when we had children, and I finished an MBA, and I was a consultant for a few years, and I worked for American Express for a few years. And then when we moved to Ithaca, I joined Cornell, where I did everything. I was in purchasing for a while, I was in research integrity for a while, I was in systems improvement for a while. And then again, I followed him here to Wien University. So if you think about it, my career has not been truly entirely of my own making, but it's been sort of a derivative of what our family has needed. And along the way, I had cancer a couple of years ago, last year, and I recovered. And during that time, actually, um, I um, I got to be not close, but I have to say that I talked more with Sanjay Subhash and Rajat and Vandana than I had in a very long time, and I really appreciated getting to know them a little bit more. And so we're here now, and we're all healthy, and the kids are in the US hiding from COVID. So hopefully they'll stay safe. And I just personally wanted to say that I'm so grateful that through this webinar series, I'm able to connect with you guys in a way that I never did when I was at IIT. And it's so good to see this community supporting each other, and I hope that we can be there for each other when anybody needs us, needs anything. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm really, this is a struggle in Vietnam. It's a very, very tough situation. And, not because it's a corporate culture, which is very different from what we were used to at Cornell. So Rohit fights a lot of battles every day. He has a very difficult job, I have to say. But I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot. And most days are good. Some days are not, but most days are good. So anyway, that's my story, and I'll leave it now to the star of the show, Rohit, to say whatever he needs to say. But if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Hey, thank you so much, Amita, for sharing your story, and I'm so glad that you're healthy and fine now. None of us knew this, by the way. Maybe just a handful of us. But I mean, one question I have for you is, you I've seen a lot of focus in the US universities, as my older one is now going to apply for college next year. There is a lot of focus in US universities on making sure that the kids actually, their mentality aligns with the university's mentality, so to say. So you have to almost sell yourself why you will be a good fit in this university. They focus a lot on that. Maybe that's one of the reasons that when kids go there, they have a better experience, because in our case, I mean, it's a herd mentality that everybody just goes to one university without thinking that whether that will be a good fit for them or not, but just because their parents said so or their relatives said so, and they were just other people are saying so, they're doing it. Here I think kids are a little more independent and they make choices and sometimes reject bigger universities. I've seen some cases where they said that, hey, that's not a good fit for me. And any thoughts, I mean, how you choose in Win University? How are you choosing them? The students.
Yeah, so actually it's interesting that, one of the things, being part of a startup university, I've done everything, a little bit of everything, including admissions, which I had no experience in. So admissions may, I mean, I think, Turasa, you have to look for fit. You do have to look for fit. I mean, I think, and I think it's, if you don't, then the child may, or the student may actually may not have a good experience. So I actually agree that a little bit of the fit is looking for fit is a good idea. I mean, in India and most Asian universities, we are so obsessed with status, and our parents are so obsessed with saying my kid went to IIT Bombay, that's the top rated IIT. It doesn't matter whether it's a fit or not fit, and whether the kid wants to be in computer science or not. If he's got or she's got a high rank, they better be in computer science. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, this fake ego, and really this desire to be the status. And I think in the US, it's not as much like that, because there are so many good universities with such good reputations. And so if you got into Cornell and you got into Harvard and you chose not to go to Harvard and go to Cornell, people are not going to say what a loser, right? They're going to say, okay, you made a choice. But in India, if you got into computer science somewhere and you chose to do, metallurgical engineering somewhere else, they'll be like, what the heck? Like, what kind of, you're such a loser. Right. So I think status ka utna, because when status gets out of the picture, then I think people are able to make choices. And I do think that fit is really, really important. A small university with 400 students. But if you're somebody who's looking for the big NCAA experience, you're into football, you like that kind of stuff, you're not going to be happy at that school. So, I mean, at the end of the day, really what I think Asheesh said this really, really well. Education can be and should be fun. Being at a university can be and should be fun. And I think fit will make it fun. So we do look for fit, and I think it's a good thing that we did, because it helps. It helps both the students and the university.
Hey, Puneet, you're on mute. Still on mute.
Hey, Puneet, can you please write your question on the chat? Maybe that way better.
Yeah.
Puneet, you can rejoin, or maybe there's a problem with your mic.
See, for any educational system, I feel like, I mean, you have to be there at the right place at the right time, and that should be the job of parents and the universities, to make sure that for every child that happens. I'll tell you something very interesting. And throughout my career, the people that I have met from, for example, Scandinavian countries, they're extremely good at what they do. So, I mean, I dug a little bit deeper into why is that, hey, why are these people so good? And many of them don't even have PhDs or masters or anything like that. So what happens there is that you are provided for no matter what. So, I mean, you can, if you want, you can just get into drugs and do whatever you want. They don't care. But as a human being, everybody has some inclinations. And so people experiment on things that they really like to do. So these are the people who I get to meet now are people who actually wanted to be in this field. So that field doesn't feel like work to them. They're enjoying it. Like Asheesh was saying, Amita was saying. It has to feel like fun to you. And I can honestly say, I mean, over 90% people on this planet are doing jobs where they're not happy. And that defeats the purpose pretty much. I mean, you can't be good at something that you're not very happy about, even though there are exceptions. I was shocked to hear that Agassi in his book wrote that he hated tennis. He did it just because his dad took it. I mean, he wanted him to, which is amazing that you can become number one in something that you really hated.
Yeah.
But in general, that's not true.
Yeah. I think एक चीज और भी है कि I mean I think in higher education and even in earlier education we educators need to become facilitators of learning. I think this mindset of कि हमको पता है सब हम बच्चों को बताएंगे and they will learn what we know, that's just ridiculous. I mean somebody was saying to me, some guy, he's a faculty member now at Yale. He was saying basically IIT mein the biggest value they bring is that they select the best, most talented kids from all over India. And what the best thing they can do for these kids is get out of the way and
Yeah. So
and
it's
let the
mostly.
kids be. And so, you know, I think this thing of we have to be facilitators of learning, and we really need to give the kids the confidence that they can be self-directed learners, really to be able to ask questions, to be able to explore learning with guidance. But I think uske liye the educators have to let go of their egos as well, where we say just because we have PhDs, we know everything, and the students
So
don't. So I think
so
that's a whole paradigm shift. I think that's already happening, and in the US it has happened, and that's why I think, and in the Netherlands and in the Scandinavian countries for sure it has happened, where the kids are actually able to sort of figure out what they want to
So,
do
so,
and able to do
so
it.
Amita, I mean, the challenge is, I mean, if you look at I mean, any curve, I mean, it generally follows a bell curve. So, good people will figure out a way to succeed no matter where they go. This is a given. It doesn't matter which university they go. I mean, you can see examples here like Steve Jobs and others. They were not from big universities, but I mean, you can always succeed from. I mean, if you're good, you'll figure out a way. But what about for the most people on the bell curve in the middle? How can we make sure these are very good people? But I mean, they just did not get into IIT. I mean, I see here every day now that IITians haven't started coming out to US universities. I live very close to Stanford. I play for Stanford cricket team, so that's why I know many of the kids that I meet these days. They're not from IITs. They are from second rate, what we would call them. And if you even look at CEO of Microsoft, he's from one of the donation colleges that used to be there. We used to make fun of that. But the extremely amazing guy. I mean, so there's a lot of good talent. I mean, how do we provide them the right kind of opportunity for people to thrive? Because IITs are not everything, for sure.
So should I jump in now, Mitu?
Yes, sorry, we derailed it. Please go ahead.
Okay, all right. I'll just turn my video on. देखो so दिखाई पड़ रहा है कि नहीं लोग? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to see how I look. Okay, good. Can you see me?
Yes,
Good,
we
good.
can.
Okay. The bald guy. Yeah, the latest fashion है by the way.
You're looking good.
You
You're looking
created
good.
it. You created that fashion.
Yeah, you know, अभी हमारा ये जो look है, अभी ये बहुत popular हो रहा है, like सत्यानंदाला और you know, Bruce
नहीं
Willis,
ये
ये सब
हमारे
को
एज
copy
ग्रुप
कर
में
रहे हैं लोग सब.
कोरोना में बाल कटाने नहीं जाना पड़ता है.
हाँ, right. उसका बहुत economic benefit भी है उसमें, you know, like
You did not patent it, so patent नहीं हुआ उसका.
right.
I
Okay.
hope you remember you were asking for a joke, right? I don't know if Zed has joined or not, but
Zed join किया कि नहीं? अब उसको Professor joke मतलब बोलना है पहले.
Professor joke तो नहीं, but इस पे याद आ गया कि one time in one of the movies, I think Om Puri or somebody said, I use head and shoulders for my shoulders.
Right. Right. No. Anyway, no. Thank you, Vishwat, and actually Sandy. तुम्हारा ये प्लेटफॉर्म अमेजिंग है. आई वाज जस्ट टेलिंग सैंडी अर्लियर कि इसके पहले हमने ये प्रोग्राम को सिर्फ कंप्यूटर पे किया था, एंड देन टुडे आई गॉट अ चांस टू डू दिस ऑन आईपैड. इट्स अनबिलीवेबल. मैं यहाँ पे क्वालिटी ऑफ ऑडियो एंड वीडियो इज सो गुड. सो थैंक यू सैंडी, एंड देन थैंक यू विश्वा फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग दिस.
Thank
So
you.
तुम्हारा हम क्वेश्चन आंसर करेंगे विश्वा, but maybe let me just start from the beginning. I think Asheesh and Amita gave a really good background, honestly. And
No, but as a child, start from your childhood.
yeah, I will. तो बहुत समय लगेगा. कितना देर है तुम लोग के पास? Childhood start करने में बहुत देर में लगेगा. लेकिन yes, I'll fast forward. लेकिन but yes, I do want to say something क्योंकि हम लोग का ना Amita and my Win Uni journey is actually, it's not a 2 or 3 year journey. It's actually a longer term journey. And then, you know, we all want to contribute something to what we are doing. All of us are, honestly. I mean, I'm so proud of my batch, honestly. From Vinit Gupta to Vivek Mudgil to Rajat to everybody, to Joshi, Ratnip Joshi, to everybody. You know, we are all doing something really good, and we should all be proud of that. And there's no harm in saying that we are all proud of what we have done, honestly. ठीक है, humble रहो सब लोग. That's part of our DNA, but I think we should also feel good about that. But let me just say कि how we got here, and then why this university, and then eventually I'll answer your question, Vishwa. So I grew up in Ranchi. Ranchi बिहार में होता था. तो जब बिहार में था, लेकिन such a fortunate coincidence कि बिहार split हो गया दो चीज में. So I'm not a Bihari anymore. ये सब आलोक शरण, संदीप, and then राजीव वर्मा, ये सब बिहारी हैं. सब all Bihari jokes are on there. या जितने बेवकूफ बिहारी हैं वो लोग सब उधर हैं. हम लोग साउथ बिहार में, हम लोग
ये झारखंडी हो गए. ये
झारखंडी हो.
that may be worse, but that is fine.
जो भी तुम्हारा लालू यादव का जॉक हुआ doesn't apply to me anymore. पहले होता था, हमको बहुत सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस प्रॉब्लम था उसमें, लेकिन अब not to worry about it.
Yes.
Right. No, but you know, honestly, actually, so growing up in Ranchi, you know, Ranchi is a very unique place. It's almost like an island, right? South Bihar में at that time, this was the educational hub, right? और उसके अंदर में एक institution था called St. Xavier's College. And then so somehow I got into St. Xavier's College. So this is my story. I always get into something, you know. बाकी लोग सब somehow.
हमारे बैच में सेंट जेवियर से इतने लोग आए थे, मुझे लगता था कि तुम लोगों का पेपर लीक हो गया क्या?
Exactly. हुआ था वो, लेकिन ऑफिशियली नहीं हुआ था वो. ऑफिशियली नहीं हुआ था. हमारे बैच में एक थे प्रोफेसर डिब्रावर, एंड देन एक्चुअली हर्ष विनायक, एंड हर्ष, आर यू देयर? हर्ष, या. सो हर्ष
enjoying ki Jharkhand is not Bihar. Thank you. And Father Debrawer, our most beloved professor.
Right. So Harsh था उसमें, संदीपन बैनर्जी, you know, तुम्हारा प्रतीक इंदिवर, पवन, ये सब लोग था लोअर लेवल में थे, by the way. So I'm just starting at the lower level. Higher level में जाओ तो फिर बात तुम कुमार तुहिन, I don't remember, प्रवीण कुमार, a whole bunch of them. 40 लोग गए थे IIT में.
No way.
Yeah.
70.
This was उस समय
Avinash Gautam, all of them.
Avinash is here. Yeah. ये सब लोग हमसे मिलते नहीं थे, by the way, 11th 12th में. ये लोग सब थोड़ा दूसरे जगह में रहते थे वो लोग. Yeah. They were all, and then I'll go a little further. वहाँ पे एक छोटा सा एक प्राइवेट हॉस्टल था, उसका नाम था बादशाह लॉज, right? Avinash, Gautam, are you there?
No, this is a different Avinash. Gautam is not here.
Okay. एक छोटा सा एक प्राइवेट लॉज था, उसमें से out of these 40 people, about 10 people used to live there. उसमें there was Sudhir Jha and Avinash Gautam, Praveen Kumar, etc. They were all from different part of this low education level state called Bihar, and they all got into IIT. Anyway, so the point is that somehow we all made it there, right? And then you think about, okay, so हम लोग सब लोग IIT कानपुर क्यों गए? right? So if you think about 1988, क्या IIT कानपुर का big event था? Can you guys remember? Why was IIT Kanpur named in 1988? Do you guys remember?
Sports.
No, I don't think so. 1980 में there was nothing called sports at IIT Kanpur. 88 हम लोग के आने के एक साल पहले. Just think about it. थोड़ा अंदर जाओ.
नहीं आने के नहीं निकलने के एक साल पहले.
Sorry, 1984.
1984. 84 we would not know, yeah.
So I remember USA, that was the first year.
ये 5-year वाला बैच.
हाँ, color TV came to Ranchi. 83 में आया था. उस समय first time we saw World Cup, Diego Maradona hit the goal, etc. And then 84 में.
I think now I get it what happened. So I think there was some quiz program and the topper of the quiz program was from IIT Kanpur.
Yeah, who is this?
Pankaj.
Pankaj, Patna.
Exactly.
Bihar.
Yes, exactly. Narayanan, do you guys remember Narayanan Menon?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so हमको पता नहीं अभी वो कहाँ है, but Narayanan
Menon and Sanjeev. He's a professor at IIT Delhi. There was one Sanjeeva Prasad.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sanjeeva Prasad.
So 1984 में, so that thing came out, and IIT Kanpur was for the first time on the world stage. India में था, but that was like a world stage for me. तो उसके बाद लगा कि अगर कहीं जाना है तो वहीं जाना है. And so anyway, somehow I got into IIT. And then I said, okay, sub form bharo, sabse pehle IIT Kanpur, whatever you get in, you go to IIT Kanpur. And then I go there and then I meet all these wonderful people, Sandeep Kumar, Rajiv Verma, Ratndeep Joshi, Avinash Gordon, etc., all of you guys. So like Amita was saying, I mean, when I look at IIT experience, okay, somehow you get in. So first of all, you have to think about how you get in. Right, as a somebody who has to think about university education, and you say, okay, what do you do once you get there? कोई एक भी हमसे पूछे कि मेरा IIT कानपुर experience का what was the most inspiring moment there, right? There are a few things. One is all my friends and my classmates, because they basically help learn, peer learning, etc. And then second, there are a few professors. Honestly, there are a few professors. Professor P.C. Kapoor, who was my undergraduate advisor, is one of them. I mean, it's probably the most inspiring one. And then actually campus living. Campus living was amazing. Just think about it. अगर हम लोग सब लोग कहीं और घर से रहते और हम लोग campus जाते class लेके लौट के आते, would we have had this meeting today? I don't think so. The reason why we are having this meeting today is because many years ago, हम लोग, we stayed together, we had both positive and negative experiences, and then we had a chance to bond with each other. So university education is not just about learning the knowledge, and today it's even more true than before. तुम Coursera में जा सकते हो, EDX में जा सकते हो, YouTube में जा सकते हो. There's all kinds of learning available. All of us have children who are going to university or about to go to university. उनको थोड़ी भेज रहे हैं हम लोग just because go and then learn from professors what the latest knowledge is, right? That's not it. And we saw it firsthand. What we learned was how to be a human being, how to be a responsible human being. कुछ लोगों को ज़्यादा समय लगा, like myself. Some were much faster than others. But at the end of the day, we figured it out, right? So this is a long way of saying कि हम लोग को, about 30 years in university life, we got a chance to help create this university in Vietnam. And then, so what you do is, at that point in time, you try to bring together all the knowledge, all the experience you have into creating something new and wonderful. So that's what we have done here. So actually हम थोड़ा सा बताना चाहते हैं, but maybe Sandy, तुमको हमने एक वीडियो भेजा था. Can you show that video? Hello, Sandy.
Sandy,
Yeah.
now
So
you're the one on mute.
Just
Yeah, so
can.
yeah, वो actually 5 minute का video है, so I hope you don't
ठीक है,
mind.
so you keep talking and then I will prompt you. I'll get it there and then you keep talking. मैं 2 मिनट में. Yeah.
हाँ, तो हमने actually ये video इसलिए किया कि I didn't want to show any slides or pictures or anything, and then you know आशीष ने तुम्हारा इंडिया का perspective किया, and I'm really thankful to Asheesh for actually inspiring us, because Asheesh came and talked to me before this whole Win University project started, actually about a year before. And then उसके बाद में somehow you know we were lucky to get this opportunity.
नाम कैसे पहुंच गए?
हाँ? Okay, so Sandy, क्या बोल रहे हो? Sorry.
RK, why Vietnam? How did you manage?
Yeah, why Vietnam? So okay, so let me just try to answer that one actually. कौन है? Who asked this question?
RK Mishra.
Hey, Mishra ji, how are you, man? How are you? Where are you? अच्छा, तुम्हारा आवाज सुना नहीं पड़ रहा है, so I'll connect with you later. But why Vietnam, right? That's the question. So
I think the side question is, why not India?
Yeah, I know. So how many of you have fallen in love? I think we have all fallen in love more than once in our life, right? I mean, so yeah. So just think about it. You know, when you fall in love, what happens, right? So when you fall in love, is that you care about somebody or some idea or some place, you know, really deeply, right? एक चीज वो होता है. Second होता है कि you know you really care about that, and then somehow you have a deep sense of belonging with that, right? And then you probably think that you know ये अगर नहीं होगा तो that's a problem, right? So that's what falling in love is all about. But then let's say you fall in love and you say, you know what, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to make a big difference. So you combine the two. So for me, that's what it was all about. So the way I got involved was that, you know, 2016, उसके पहले हम कभी वियतनाम आए नहीं थे. I mean, I had no intention. You know, I had a good life in US. I have a beautiful wife, caring, you know, loving. I have 2 children who are just unbelievable. We had a dog. We had a good. I had a lot of students, colleagues, etc. Cornell, you know, Cornell में tenure मिलना उतना अच्छा नहीं होता है. Somehow I made it, etc. So what happened was, at that point in time, हमको they asked me to take this administrative role as dean in the external relations. And उस समय में Cornell being a top ranked university, many people wanted to collaborate. It's like a girl everybody wants to date. And you know, this was an amazing proposal from Vietnam. They made a very strong, compelling case कि यहाँ पे country grow कर रही है और बहुत सारी young population है और you know, universities are not taking care of the needs of the people, and there's so much growth, and then we need help. And Cornell का mission है any person, any study. And so it fit very nicely. So हमने कहा कि okay, let's just take a look. And then, like I said, the 2 earlier points, you know, falling in love and, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity idea. हम यहाँ पे आए, first time I came on behalf of Cornell in January 2017. And then when you look at people in their eyes, you can see what they feel and how they believe. It was unbelievable. They are really, really passionate people. They are hardworking. They are motivated. They want the country to grow. They are willing to put whatever it takes. They don't have a lot of money, by the way. They have probably less money than India. But then they are really willing to learn. And then they are willing to collaborate. They are open-minded. उसके बाद में, and then of course there's a company here, उसका नाम है Win Group. Win Group is the largest conglomerate from Vietnam. उनका motive है, of course they want to grow to be a much bigger company, but they're also willing to invest into the future of this country. और all of these things put together, when I was able to take back to Cornell, almost 50 different people at Cornell, they said, you know what, this is an unbelievable thing, let's just go ahead and do it. So that's how the project started. And then this is 2017. Uske baad mein, till for the next 2 years, I came to Hanoi maybe 5 times every year. And then, of course, I got to see more and more people. And then at the end of the day, it was, you know what, when they asked me, can you please come here and then spend some time? Then at that point in time, there were just 2 things. First, okay, does your family agree with you? And their family wants you to do this. And then I am very fortunate, with wife and children, they all said, you know what, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. This is an unbelievable opportunity. Go ahead and do it. Make a difference if you can. And we'll support you in every possible way. And then second was the question for me, is it worth my time? Should I just stay what I'm doing, or should I go ahead and do it? Or that was the internal thing. I said, you know what? हम लोग सबको opportunity मिला है at some point in time to do something wonderful. Other people have done it too in different ways. हमारे बहुत सारे classmates, have done this. And this is the chance. We have been fortunate to have the chance for us and our families. So if you get a chance to do it, why not do it? So that's the reason. That's the reason for the project and why Vietnam. I hope that answers at least partly. Sure.
So, Rohit, I can share it if you want.
Yeah, why don't you do that? So actually, हमने जो video बोला है Sandy को share करने के लिए, this was the video which was played on the opening day of our university, January 15th, 2020. It just gives you some sort of a background about why this university, why Vietnam, or थोड़ा बहुत, of course, it looks like a Marvel movie. But anyway, you can watch it. It's about 5 minutes. And then uske baad mein, I think we'll just go to Q&A. And jo bhi hai, we'll just have interactive discussion among friends. Okay, go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah.
तुम्हारे ये उसका
Thế giới luôn vận động, phát triển không ngừng. Sự tiến bộ kỳ diệu của khoa học, công nghệ, của tư duy, văn hóa và môi trường sống. Những người kiến tạo sẽ thay đổi thế giới mỗi ngày. Việt Nam sẽ ở đâu trong tương lai đó? Làm sao để Việt Nam trở nên thịnh vượng, hùng cường? Làm sao để có những nhân tài khát vọng cống hiến và năng lực dẫn dắt cho tương lai? Cách tốt nhất để dự đoán tương lai là kiến tạo ra tương lai.
Chúng tôi đã sẵn sàng hành động.
VinUni đã hành động quyết liệt để hiện thực hóa khát vọng và sẽ đào tạo nhân tài dựa trên 5 trụ cột chính gồm đối tác tinh hoa, giảng viên tinh hoa, người học tinh hoa, chương trình tinh hoa và cơ sở vật chất tinh hoa. Về đối tác tinh hoa, ngay từ đầu, VinUni đã chủ động lựa chọn hợp tác chiến lược với 2 người khổng lồ của giáo dục thế giới là Đại học Cornell và Đại học Pennsylvania, 2 trường Ivy League của Mỹ, cũng là 2 trong số top 20 đại học tinh hoa hàng đầu thế giới. Cornell và Penn hợp tác với VinUni sâu rộng và toàn diện, tham gia trực tiếp từ quản trị, chương trình, tuyển dụng, tuyển sinh đến kiểm định chất lượng. Về giảng viên tinh hoa, giảng viên, nghiên cứu viên của VinUni đều đã học tập và làm việc tại các đại học top trên thế giới. Họ đến từ nhiều quốc gia, có chuyên môn vững chắc và tầm nhìn toàn cầu. Hiệu trưởng, viện trưởng của VinUni là những nhà khoa học tầm cỡ thế giới, chuyên gia hàng đầu trong lĩnh vực của mình.
We are selecting professors with the strongest academic credentials who are passionate about Vietnam and are eager to make positive change in the country, region, and around the world. Very similar to professors at premier universities around the world, such as Ivy Leagues in the United States, have done for many decades and centuries.
Theo mô hình Đại học Tinh Hoa, VinUni thu hút và là nơi hội tụ của những người học tinh hoa từ mọi miền Việt Nam và cả trên thế giới. Đó là những người trẻ có tố chất vượt trội, ý tưởng độc đáo, có năng lực hành động, dẫn dắt và đặc biệt là khát vọng lớn lao.
We have conducted hundreds of interviews with students across the country, and I'm extremely impressed by the Vietnamese students. They are well prepared, intelligent, yet humble, and possess great determination. I trust that they will thrive and they will be very successful in the future.
Trong giai đoạn đầu, VinUni đào tạo 3 nhóm ngành gồm kinh doanh quản trị, khoa học sức khỏe, kỹ thuật và khoa học máy tính. Để xây dựng được chương trình tinh hoa, toàn bộ chương trình đào tạo được Cornell và Penn xác thực. Sinh viên đến đây để học cách tự học suốt đời. Các em học để biết tư duy thấu đáo, học để biết tự nghiên cứu và thực tế để tự trải nghiệm. Ra quốc tế mở rộng tầm nhìn, thực làm, thực học.
VinUni will have a multidisciplinary curriculum. We will use active learning pedagogy and will bring real-world relevance to all aspects of our university education. Our graduates will be empathic, will have the ability to take action, they will have entrepreneurial spirit, and most definitely will have the capability and aspiration to make a positive change in society.
Để có được cơ sở vật chất tinh hoa, nhằm hiện thực hóa khát vọng xây dựng cho Việt Nam một trường học đẳng cấp thế giới, tập đoàn Vingroup tài trợ cho VinUni 6.500 tỷ đồng, trong đó có 3.500 tỷ đồng đầu tư cho xây dựng cơ sở vật chất và 3.000 tỷ đồng để dành cấp học bổng tài năng, hỗ trợ tài chính cho sinh viên và bù lỗ vận hành cho trường trong 10 năm.
Đại học Tinh Hoa VinUni là sự hiến tặng của tập đoàn Đại học Tinh Hoa VinUni là sự hiến tặng của tập đoàn Vingroup cho xã hội. Chúng tôi làm không vì lợi nhuận và không kèm điều kiện ràng buộc.
Chất lượng giáo dục sẽ quyết định tương lai của đất nước. Với mục tiêu trở thành một trong 50 trường đại học trẻ hàng đầu thế giới, VinUni sẽ đào tạo ra những thế hệ. Với mục tiêu trở thành một trong 50 trường đại học trẻ hàng đầu thế giới, VinUni sẽ đào tạo ra hùng cường và thịnh vượng.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, very nice. Very nice.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Okay, okay. So, well, thank you. So, ये तो promotional video है, obviously. It's like a
रोहित तुम वियतनामीज बोलते हो?
नहीं. So सब Amita does it. हमको खाली एक चीज पता है, Xin Chao, which is hello. Amita knows a whole lot more, so she can speak more. I tried, but I failed so far.
Hey, रोहित, इन हुआ का क्या मतलब है?
किसका?
Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Very impressive यार.
ये मैं वीडियो देख के बता रहा हूँ, उसे नहीं पता मेरे को. Excellent और तीन हुआ एक साथ यूज हुआ था, तो इसलिए बोल रहा.
But very.
But maybe Amita can confirm if that's correct or not.
Yeah, actually, I will ask her to talk about one thing, which I'll request her. Let's see if she agrees. Do you know, हम लोग IIT में घुसे थे because of one exam, right? All of us. But Amita, since she came here, she helped design. Actually, she led the design of our admissions program. And उसमें हम लोग का था कि not everybody can be measured by one matrix, etc. So I'll just request her to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Like उसमें तो I think Vishwa ने भी बोला था शुरू में कि we look at fit. So as Rohit was saying, and this is of course a model that's followed in some of the best universities in the US and I think any other places as well, is that don't just look at GPA or SAT scores or the academic accomplishments of a student, or don't look at whether they've been able to do well in one massively difficult competition in which thousands of souls are crushed because they cannot pass the test and the student is scarred forever. So instead ये है कि हाँ GPA academic performance तो बहुत ज़रूरी है, because in order to survive in a challenging academic environment, the student at least has to have the chops to be able to be successful. You don't want to do the student a disservice. But then there are other things that also make up the whole individual. They might have capabilities in other areas. Have they shown leadership? Have they actually gone outside their comfort zone, which actually, in a lot of ways, research has shown that that will determine whether the student will be successful, because so much of what we have learned will become irrelevant. So really it's about whether the student likes to learn and steps out of their comfort zone and has resilience, has grit, has commitment, and things like that. So those are more measures of success than really how well they did in one particular exam. So it's even university admissions that we've tried to do that. We interview every single student, which we can do because it's a small university. And that interview actually sometimes reveals so much about the candidate. They look at like something on paper, and Rohit likes to say we look at them in 2D, two-dimensional when we look at their applications. But really, in the interview process, they come to life. And honestly, I've been so inspired by some of these kids and the kinds of insights they bring. They're 18-year-olds, and sometimes they can say the things that you're like, wow. मैं 50 साल की हो गई, अभी भी मुझे I don't know if I can think like that. So I think we've done that, and I think that's been very successful. It goes a bit to the fit thing also. So I think that's a model that if we can adopt in Asian countries where the competition is so intense, I don't know if we can, but it's definitely a better model in my view than looking at a single competition or GPA or test scores.
How many students are there at the university now, Amita?
There's only 220. So, and we expect that there'll be about 300 admitted next year. So like I said, it's a small program right now, and so we can afford to do the interviews. But I feel like whatever we do, even when we become very big, I hope that we can set up a culture where there's at least some aspect, or like there's some personal connection that you can make with the student before you let them in, before we make the decision. And it's a mutual decision, to be honest. Really, it's a mutual decision. Students need to be able to decide whether this university is the right one for them also. So
I was curious when I was trying to ask earlier. I was curious, both of Asheesh and you, Amita, and Rohit. We spoke about the faculty, the importance of faculty, the importance of culture, the importance of governance. But one of the criteria that people will use to also judge the quality of the university and what they got out of it is placement, what comes as opportunities once they graduate. So along with everything that you're trying to do to recruit the right faculty, create the right culture and experience, what does it take to create the right placement opportunities for students?
So let me try to answer this one. Who's this? Sorry, Hamara.
Rohit, this is Puneet.
Hey Puneet, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Okay. So let me try to answer this. So actually, isme na, I feel answer to this question actually is also relevant to several of you in this meeting, because you guys are corporate leaders, and I think you can help with this. So with that preamble, I'll just say this. So Win University, the founding benefactor of this university is a company called Win Group. Win Group is the largest conglomerate from Vietnam. So it's global sense में बहुत बड़ा नहीं है. It's only about 16 billion or 18 billion. Okay, so अगर तुम US का list में करोगे तो it's nobody. But in the country of Vietnam, it's the largest conglomerate. And they have made this commitment to help create the university for the future, right? And so one of the commitment is that the university will get help from all the entire ecosystem of Win Group. So there are several companies, उसमें internships होंगे, उसमें तुम्हारे guest lectures होंगे, etc., etc. So back to your question. I think placement is a very tricky question to ask at this point in time compared to when we are when we are graduating from the university. Just think about it. When we graduated from IIT Kanpur, उस समय हमारे पास क्या options था? Okay, so you had major Indian companies who could recruit us. We could go to the MBA programs by IIMs, or we could go to you could apply for schools to some major universities, right? So those are the three options available. I think right now there's a fourth one which is actually more popular than the first three, which is students really want to start their own enterprise. They want to be entrepreneurs, they want to be change makers, etc. That's one big change. Second change कि बहुत सारा Asheesh said he was working for McKinsey and World Economic Forum etc. have said कि अभी जो if the student graduates right now, 10 years from now, the type of jobs they'll be looking for, they don't even exist today. Actually, 75% of jobs 10 years from now don't even exist today. So what it means is that this whole idea about a traditional placement is not really relevant if you want to go to university. So with those two things in mind, what we have to do is we have to prepare students to be ready for anything that could happen. So अगर हम लोग वो चीज दो चीज नहीं कर सकते हैं, then it's a problem. So one, you need a good connection with the ecosystem of the industry currently, and secondly, you want to make sure that your students are ready for the changing landscape. So that's my thought. If you can do that, the university will be successful. If not, then that's a problem. But let's just hear from Asheesh also, क्योंकि वो इंडिया में वही चीज अब कर रहा है, and that's probably more relevant. Asheesh, what do you think?
No. So I think I think you're bang on. I mean, whatever else we may say, people come to a institution believing that this will get them a good opportunity in the future. So it's a bit like in a way we are trying to develop a product for the market. The market here is employers, and the product is the student that will come out. So the better the linkage, the greater is I at least think for new institutions that I'm involved with, that really plays to the ability of the institution to also attract good students. Practically, boss, first few years, at least मैं तो अब 3-4 बार ये देख चुका हूँ. The biggest job that you have to do, what I do, for example, I mean, the reason why I met RK, 3 days or 4 days ago was basically trying to, place people on our own credibility and saying, look, these are students who we have worked with, and therefore people don't know your university. People don't know, what kind of, there's no track record, right? So initially a lot of effort goes into almost, hand-picking students and putting them into or connecting them with the right opportunity and jobs, and that's a big part of the work. Once you've done that, once your first batch sort of goes through, and the virtuous circle starts, then I think it's easier. Then the process begins. But initially there's a lot of hard work once students graduate.
I mean, I think
Very
this
good.
is Amita. One of the things I would also say is ki, in order to be successful, I think all of us are saying the same thing, that jobs don't exist today. People, when they graduate, they don't even have a clear sense of what they want to do in their careers. And many of us have chosen careers that we didn't think that we would have when we graduated. Like, how many of us are doing the things that we thought we would do when we graduated from IIT? So I think the word, I know it's a cliched term, but really transferable skills are really, really critical. How do you can students really ask critical questions? Can they think for themselves? Can they sort of can they solve problems? Can they work with other people? Can they be humble yet confident? ये सब जो है life skills really. I think if you've done a good job at your university, your students will graduate with good life skills. And I think that is in this world, I think that's our biggest role, is that yes, they should learn the subject matter, and they should, to the extent that it can still be relevant, but really to be able to think critically and ask the right questions and be able to be, I know these are all cliched terms, but they really mean something, to be lifelong learners. कि भैया life में change होता रहेगा. And how do I keep learning, and how do I keep growing, and even when you're faced with a tough situation, how do I overcome it? How do I break it down step by step? How do I manage my time? यही सब चीजें आजकल, I think the paradigm has shifted a little bit. So I think
See, in
those are
India,
the
the
things.
challenge. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm done.
No, no.
Yeah.
I was just saying that the challenge in India is also there's a lot of undoing, that is required for how the school system, or making up in a way for what the school system has not provided. So in all the universities that we are involved with, I mean, one thing we do is, set up a center for communication and critical thinking, exactly what Amita is saying. And you've got to almost overdo the emphasis on that. So it's not an extracurricular thing, but it's embedded very, very strongly in the curriculum. Every term, students kind of go through a, sort of a ladder of learning and courses, which expose them to be able to, think critically, problem solve, structure problems, and so on. So yeah, but there are two things. I mean, one is you can do all the things to the product, but then the market also has to. I mean, how does the market know what is inside? So that's the thing which I was talking about first, which is there's a lot of effort in, and almost you have to hand place students. At least that's what we end up doing, and saying, look, Asheesh, he's good at this. He'll probably be a good fit for XYZ. So let me make sure that people there take it. And sometimes you put your own credibility out there and say, look, take it because I'm telling you, but at the same time, make sure that the product, as Amita is saying, has gone through the right learning, which will make her or him successful in whatever they have to do.
So Asheesh, let me build on this a little bit. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So जो आशीष का point बहुत valid है कि you have to make the potential employers value the skills for the students, right? But there are more than one ways of doing that. So एक point जो आशीष बोला, which I totally agree. I mean the faculty and people who are senior in the university can help promote the students. I mean, I'm generalizing it, but that's basically the gist of it. The second of it could be that you naturally get companies and potential employers involved in the university, and they're best practices, right? So how do you do that? So let's say I'll give you a Cornell example. So the three biggest employer at Cornell are Amazon, Deloitte, and EY. ये तीन company है. They hire overwhelmingly highest number of students. I don't know why they want to do that, लेकिन वो लोग वहाँ पे आते हैं. Okay, so why did they do it? It's because उन लोगों ने decide किया है कि this university produces the students which we want and they'll be successful in the organization. तो फिर वो लोग जो हैं, they come, they give guest speakers, they are in advisory boards, they support research, etc., etc. So basically, over the 4-year time period, while a student is there, they get exposed to these three companies a whole lot more than any other company, right? So then what happens is, by the time they are ready to graduate, when the time comes to apply, they apply to these companies. So let's say now we are a new university. So what it means is that we have to somehow find these type of companies and convince them that this particular university will have graduates which will be really good for you. And if we can do that, then they'll come. I think that's the challenge all of us have. All new universities have to figure out how we can make established companies, more promising startups come and then basically try to engage with students. If you can do that, then yes, then automatically good things will happen.
Very good. Thank you, Rohit, Amita, and Asheesh.
Yeah, I had one question for Asheesh, Amita, and Rohit. Yeah, more like a recent thing. So, do you think the education is like getting accelerated in the change because of the pandemic? Maybe some kind of a hybrid learning at will, whether I want to stay home or go to the campus, or get a course first and do the labs in the campus. So, is it emerging now? What are those disruptions which will carry forward even after the pandemic? Do you have some kind of a guess on that?
So Ashish, if you want to go first, go ahead. Mere paas, I can tell you data from US and Vietnam, but you go ahead from India side first.
Okay. No. So listen, I think, as I said earlier, it has truly accelerated the change many of us could anyway see. And the biggest change, I think, has been on the faculty side. It was anyway going to be difficult for people to change and embrace what all technology and online learning could do. I think pandemic left no other option, and so people who were inching slowly started to, or had to, kind of pick up pace. So I think that's been a very, very welcome thing. At least my sense on this is, and students, pure online, I'm not sure. I think there are certain things which you can probably do and learn well online, but there are a bunch of things which do require collaborative learning, which still is difficult to do in an online world, and require practical work, which is still difficult to do. But also a lot of things are possible. So my at least 2 cents on this is, I think the mix will, even when things come back to whatever is the new normal, there will be a very, very high sort of dose of online work, which will create new opportunities, options for students to learn, for faculty to teach, and for institutions to do things very differently. I can share, I'd written a small piece on what a possible university of the future in an Indian, which is a little bit of a resource poor scenario, could be like. And you can imagine a lot of things, the whole value chain kind of breaking up. You could imagine a student or a university saying, offering physical facilities for somebody who's doing the online piece somewhere else. So there are very interesting possibilities and models which become possible. Yeah, so change for sure.
Yeah, thanks. And send me that article maybe, so I'll look into it. Yeah. Thank you.
Just wanted to point out, it's approaching midnight for our friends in Vietnam. So and tomorrow is a working day.
Yeah, we are okay. We are okay. But I wanted to ask Amita to respond to this question.
No, yeah, Rohit, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, okay. So I'm, our son Rishi. He's doing Teach for America in the U.S. and he's teaching 7th grade math, and he's been teaching online since March. And उससे मैं पूछ रही थी कि जब तुम्हारे बच्चे 8th grade में जाएंगे, so do you think that they will have the kind of math competence that you expect them to have at the beginning of the 8th grade? And he basically said, Mama, I am not confident that we can assume that their math skills at the end of the 7th grade will be at the level where they can take on the curriculum of the 8th grade. He doesn't feel confident. He cannot look into their eyes and see if they're getting the material. He's teaching on Zoom. Kids are engaged. Sometimes they're not engaged. He doesn't know. So I personally think कि online learning is जैसे कैसे बोलते थे ना हम लोग शुरू में, technology is a great servant, not a great master. It should be a servant, not a master. So I think that technology and online learning, there definitely is huge potential, and I fully agree with Asheesh कि accelerate हो गया. Faculty are the single biggest, like the most change resistant species on this planet. I think they just don't want to change, and the good thing that has happened is that they've been forced to change. And so once that has happened, थोड़ा सा वो like momentum हो गया, तो उसको stop करने में बहुत like there'll be no reason to stop it. But I do think that there is no way that education online will be at the same level as in person, face to face. I personally, I mean, I don't have data on this, but I personally don't think it can replace the face to face learning. That's my view. No data, just my view.
Okay, so I'll add one more thing. This may be relevant to a lot of people here, maybe not. तो मेरा व्यू इसमें ये है कि you only get so much learning by attending classes, honestly. And our personal experiences here, I took notes. I attended a few classes at IITK. I didn't attend a lot of classes, but I took a lot of notes from several people who are attending this call today, Joshi, Sandeep, etc. And then I learned a whole lot by interacting with my colleagues and friends. Or if we say that university education is really about taking classes, then I think we are missing out 90% of why students go to university, honestly. That's not what university is about. अगर तुमको सिर्फ क्लासेस लेना है and if you want to learn how to solve a problem A, B, C, D in a very structured way, then just watch a YouTube video or go to a Coursera or MIT EDX. Don't go to university. University is about trying to solve problems. University about trying to make connections. University about trying to look at unstructured information. University is about looking at uncertain problem, being felt uncomfortable, etc. तो वो सब चीज अगर यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं कर सकती है, then don't go there. So that's my point. ये सब trying to able to solve problem, वो सब easy चीज है आजकल. You can get almost everything done online. So that's what I would say. Yes, there's a role for university is actually stronger and more important going forward than ever before, because it helps create a human connection and then helps people think about how to solve problems. So that's my view on this.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, Rohit, if Rohit, Amita, and if you still have time.
Yeah, we have time. We have time. Don't worry. I took a nap. Just before the call, I took a nap. Abhi hum bahut देर जग सकते हैं. Don't worry.
So here's a question that as we grow, as I grew, came to my mind. We all are technologists here, yet now we know that it takes a lot of humanities, studies as well as passion to do something worthwhile in a whole. But a lot of startup universities that we see are all very technical, probably because placement is easier. What is your thought? And at Win University and Asheesh, in your universities, do you also focus on humanities?
Thank you, Harsh. But let's hear from Asheesh and Amita first.
तो मेरा तो इसमें यार बड़ा सिंपल सा व्यू है. I think we've overplayed the technology side. I think as you learn more, you have to unlearn more of technology, or at least the purely technical way of thinking, and adopt more of call them humanity or humanities or liberal arts. So at least in all the universities that we do, we have made sure that there is a strong aspect of interdisciplinarity, and that's why I think that we emphasize creating intersections and the opportunity for students to learn at intersections, faculty to work on intersections, whether it is between design and engineering or business and technology, or the three of them. And everywhere, the idea of embedding critical thinking and solving, etc., is to also have a connect with the liberal side of learning. So at least I am a big believer now of the importance of that. All of us need to understand and learn from liberal arts, whether we are engineers or how no matter how strongly technical we want to be.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I think humanities, overemphasis on technical skills, it's purely because from a placement perspective, right? That's where the jobs are, and people feel like that's critical. But we know that the true measure, that the only way that a person can be successful, I think, in life is if they have been exposed to the humanities and the arts, and all of the kind of thinking that comes with it. even if you think about things like communication skills that don't come from taking math, science, or even business courses, right? That they come from being able to have a discussion, a debate of like looking at an abstract topic, and being able to make sense out of it. So all of these things. So when maybe we have a pretty elaborate general education program that covers sociology, तुम्हारा favorite subjects, philosophy, all of those subjects that we remember with a lot of love from our IIT days. Psychology, philosophy, sociology, ये सब है English वगैरह तो. And I think, but I have to say it's only because Cornell and UPenn insisted on that kind of education. I think if it was left to just the local system, they would have done the mandatory classes, which are extremely boring. But really, Cornell, this is where really they basically said that if you truly want to have a world-class education, you need to emphasize humanities just as much as the other subjects. So that's my take on it. Rohit, go ahead. And then...
Yeah, so actually, I want to add just one thing. So humanities and social sciences, of course, they are extremely important, just like both Asheesh and Amita said. लेकिन होता क्या है कि in reality, if you don't make it relevant for students, they are going to think this is not this is a requirement, right? So यहाँ पे in Vietnam, just like Amita said, Cornell and Penn insisted that you need to be able to have this program available. And then we looked at requirement by the government. So यहाँ पे this is a socialist country, as you may know. तो यहाँ पे है कि they need to learn about Ho Chi Minh philosophy, right? So हम लोगों ने कहा कि भाई okay, so this is one of the required course. You need to learn about Ho Chi Minh and communist and socialist ideology. How do you make it relevant to them, and then build on the ideas which were mentioned earlier. So basically, we hired professor who said, okay, let's just think about what Ho Chi Minh did in the current context. So this guy, he was from a poor country with no resources. He spent 30 years abroad. पूरा हर जगह गया. India, France, US, so many countries he went. And then he got best practices. He learned how to negotiate with people. He learned how to make case for his country, etc. And then he was able to get benefit for his country. So these are essential skills right now, right? Let's say you want to start a company. You need to negotiate. You need to make a good case. You need to be able to make persuasive arguments. You need to be able to understand others, etc. So हम लोगों ने क्या किया यहाँ पे कि we have created a course basically to talk about those aspects of Ho Chi Minh, and then it becomes relevant. So I think that's the point. Humanities and social sciences are extremely benefit, but you have to make it relevant to people. And if you do, then young generation really get it. Actually, first year में we just did a survey. We have about 230 top students in Vietnam. These are top 2% of the country. And then we did a quick survey to find out which classes they like most, and these are classes they love the most. Unko engineering, they are all in engineering, in health sciences, medicine, in computer science, electrical, mechanical, and they said these are classes they like most. Why? Because of this, exactly the idea that the past and how they can relate to it for their own life. So that was a very interesting result from that survey. So I hope, Harsh, that gives you some answer to your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I mean, is Vivek still there or he left? I see that he's leaving.
या उसके लिए बहुत देरी हो रहा है. अभी वियतनाम में बहुत देर नहीं है, लगता है इंडिया में बहुत देर हो गया है.
No, he's on another call, he said.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a joke.
But actually, I just want to say कि those of us who are in education these days, I have to say कि अगर हम लोग जो भी जैसे आशीष बोला था शुरू में, हम लोग कुछ कर सकते हैं तो हम लोग को करना चाहिए. But I also feel कि not from the standpoint that we are experts at something, but because we have life experiences that I think can be that can be shared and with the students. Students are sponges, and they're really looking to learn from life experiences of other people. So I think
Yeah, well,
yeah.
one time I talked to high school students here, and I basically started with the premise that the idea of education is that you want to be happy in life. So that's where we need to begin. That you want to be happy in life. Then the question is, what makes you happy? This itself is not an easy question. I mean, you might think that, oh, money will make me happy, or this will make me happy, that will make me happy, and it can keep changing. So it's not an easy question. That, hey, yeah, your goal is clear, you want to be happy, but what makes you happy is not clear. And then everybody has different constraints. I mean, you're born in a different situation. I mean, whether it's personal or financial, economic, I mean, there are many different factors that play in. Then, I mean, life becomes an optimization problem that given all the constraints and there are different things you could be doing. How do you reach your optimum potential? That's what it becomes like. And even though students believe that, hey, quality education will lead them there are many other things that come into picture. So then I distill down on what really mattered in my life after I left college. I told them that these are the things that really mattered, and my academics in the end was a very small, it had a very small role in it, in fact. So they were really amazed, and because these kids have intense pressure in high school, that you have to get into the greatest school possible, and this possible, that possible. But I mean, when I tell them my story on what happened in my life, and the choices I made and why I made them, and where I ended up and why I'm happy, they at the end, I mean, I almost always get standing ovation. I'm just amazed that people get sidetracked by other people's agendas more than their own. So we have to develop those confident kids that, I mean, they figure out what exactly is it that they want, and we need to create the environment, like Amita was saying, that we have to provide that best environment for them to thrive in that environment, and not enforce our agenda on them. And like
I
Asheesh
think
was
the
saying,
age
I mean,
is
there have to be universities for no matter what you want to do. There have to be great universities for that, or higher institutions of higher learning for that.
I also think there's one other thing that our whatever we're doing, raising our children or educating them in schools and universities. I think it's okay to know for students to know that they may not know what exactly they want to do, or
It's
what will
almost
make them happy.
always.
Right?
It's
So
almost always.
I think, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, actually, I have no idea. Right? That's an okay thing to say, because how many of us had
Exactly.
an idea what we wanted to do even when we graduated? Like, अभी भी मुझे तो नहीं पता यार कि मैं क्या करना चाहती हूँ. I mean, जो आ रहा है वो हो रहा है, ठीक हो रहा है, but who knows what I want to do when I'm 5 years. So I think this I think this ये जो तुम्हारा VUCA world और ये सब जो है, but I think for the kids to say, listen, I have no idea. As long as I'm learning, as long as I'm
Exactly.
growing, as long as I'm making relationships and furthering whatever I'm doing, that's okay, because I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal education, that no matter what gets thrown at you, I mean, you know how to survive and thrive in that environment.
Yes. I
That
think that
is
the biggest value that a good university education can provide is for a student to have the confidence to say that I can do it. Whatever gets thrown on my in my way, I can figure this out, because I have done it before and I will be able to do it. And I sort of have the tools. And if I don't have the tools, I'll figure out where to get them. And here's how the people I can reach out to get help if I don't know how to do it. So I mean, अगर वो हो गया तो तुमने तो then you raised there's this very famous quote by somebody कि if you want to run fast, run alone, but if you want to run far, run with other people, right? Or something like that. कुछ ऐसे ही है.
So when I said, that, even if you can give an hour or whatever, you can choose an hour or a day or a week or or a month or a year. See, I don't think you need to teach, but I think people like, who are all of you can inspire, and that inspiration is really what gets the multiplier. There are enough people who can teach the skills, who can teach the
Exactly.
subject, but there aren't enough people who can inspire, and that to me is the real value of of learning, because
अच्छा
most
ऐसा है
most kids, once they get inspired, they will figure out a way to learn.
आशीष, तो भैया ये विनियोनी का तो चक्कर 1 साल में खत्म हो जाएगा, उसके बाद तुम्हारे यहाँ जॉब वॉब होगी तो कर
अरे
लेना हायर।
Ashish will be up to like 17 universities by that time.
हम लोग को अपनी खोलनी चाहिए, अपनी शुरू करनी चाहिए एक
The
यूनिवर्सिटी.
sun will never set on Ashish's educational empire. So I'm
That
just
is
like
we should set up our own, है ना? अपनी ही खोल लेते हैं हम लोग.
हाँ, अपनी खोल लेते हैं. एक कोई आशीष का आइडिया है कि यूएस की यूनिवर्सिटी को खरीद लेते हैं.
We should buy, हाँ, एक वो भी कर सकते
like
हैं.
very cheap these days, $2 million only.
Imagine, in US you can actually buy a university for $2 million.
ये दिलीप से है, तो अब एक आध खरीद ही लिया जाए.
मुझे तो लगता है कि जैसे एलए में पाइनियर स्ट्रीट है ना, इंडियन डेवॉन स्ट्रीट है, शिकागो में डेवॉन स्ट्रीट है, इंडियन स्ट्रीट है, उसमें सड़कें भी टूटी हुई हैं, पान भी लोग थूकते हैं इधर उधर.
नहीं भैया, these are 200-year-old respected, highly respected universities. Sweetbriar, I'm talking about Sweetbriar, for example, was available for a.
और हम लोग उसको खरीद के will totally Indianize it. हम लोग बच्चों पे प्रेशर डाल
बस वही नहीं करना, बस वही नहीं करना. Indianize नहीं करना उसको.
Special, you have to get extra credit. If you don't get extra credit, you're not gonna get an A. Like completely kill their spirit. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Anyway, that's okay.
Friends, as the father of 2 children, one of whom is in university as we speak, the other applying as she finishes December, I've really appreciated this conversation. So thank you for making the time. I have to take your leave today, but I will follow up. And Asheesh, your offer to make the time available for students in your university, I think you should just put it out on the IIT 89 list, and those of us who can do it will absolutely take you up on that offer. But thank you again.
Thank you, Puneet. Thank you.
Thanks, Puneet.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye now.
Asheesh, of university thing, I think we should seriously work on it.
I think so. I think Asheesh or Amita का जो point था ना, that we need people who can inspire. It's absolutely true. So, professors are there, of course, we are career professors, we do these things. But, when you hear stories from the front line, क्या काम करता है, क्या नहीं करता है, what things are important, what not, it's unbelievable. Just think about it. हम लोग जब IIT में थे, we never had the chance to have that many guest speakers. Just think about it. हम लोग जो भी field में थे, if we had people from industry come and talk to us about the current problem of the time, I think we would have all made different choices. I think so. I would have, probably, for sure. Yeah. So I think ये सब चीज़ें हम लोग के बच्चे हैं, other people who we know, if we can influence them about those things, it'll be wonderful. So yeah, any of you who can do that for, any Indian university, Win University, any university, just do it wherever you get a chance. That will be wonderful. Thank you.
I think हम लोग को चलना चाहिए, अब सब लोग का 2 घंटा हो गया, बेचारे सब लोग सुन रहे
हैं. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
हम तो सोच रहे थे कि अब Z आएगा, आपका कोई जोक सुनाएगा, लेकिन Z तो है नहीं. सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज वही है, प्रोफेसर जोक सुनाने वाला है ही नहीं वो. I mean, that's what Vishwaranjan and I, we remember Z, his fast bowling and his jokes.
Yeah, actually, I mean, Zed and I used to have a lot of sessions on jokes. I also used to have a big stash of jokes, and ek dusre ko we'll just keep telling jokes for hours.
Right.
Vishwa, तुम ही एक दो सुना दो. Let's end with a couple of jokes. How's that?
Yeah. Okay. हम भी इंटरनेट में सर्च कर रहे हैं थोड़ा सा कुछ प्रोफेसर जोक. Hold on, I will check.
No. I mean, usually it offends one group or the other. Jokes are always they offend one group or the other. So I try to be extra careful.
सुना दो
हाँ
बिहारी जोक ही सुना दो यार, हम लोग झारखंड के हैं।
हाँ, बिहारी जोक सुना दो हर्ष, सुनाओ एक बिहारी जोक।
अब मेरे को थोड़ी आता है यार।
अच्छा एक I saw one, हम लोग का IITK-89 BC टॉप में आया था। Hold on, I'll just read it for you. Hold on. वो था कि एक बंदा को कंप्यूटर साइंस के एग्जाम में जाना था, है ना हर्ष, तुमको पता होगा ये। So because I don't know, so somebody went for computer science exam and then said question was define array. सबको पता ना array क्या होता है, ARRAY, define array.
Some people pronounce it as array also, not array.
हाँ तो एक बिहारी बंदा था, संदीप का फ्रेंड, राजीव वर्मा का आंसर है ये। ओके
नहीं राजीव का नहीं, मेरा आंसर है। राजीव
अच्छा ठीक है, संदीप कुमार का आंसर है। An array is used to call a person who is at a distance far away from us, who is visible to our naked eye. For example, array Rajiv.
And then the professor has written meet me in the comment.
उसका प्रोफेसर का आंसर था कि meet me.
Hey, so okay, I'll tell one. चलो एक जोक सुना देता तुम लोग को।
हाँ बताओ।
It's not really professor related, but एक बार इंजीनियर्स मिल गए तरह तरह के, जैसे IITs में हम लोग हैं, कोई सिविल इंजीनियर, कोई इलेक्ट्रिकल, कोई मैकेनिकल, कोई कंप्यूटर साइंस।
हाँ
एंड देन दे स्टार्ट सेइंग कि कौन सा इंजीनियर जो है वो सबसे अच्छा है।
हाँ
सो उन्होंने कहा ओके चलो एक एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं, तुम बताओ क्या है। उन्होंने कहा ओके चलो ह्यूमन बॉडी ले लेते हैं। सो कंप्यूटर साइंटिस्ट ने कहा हो, कंप्यूटर साइंटिस्ट इज द बिगेस्ट, द बेस्ट, बिकॉज साला ब्रेन ही नहीं होगा तो काम क्या करोगे तुम। तो इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर ने कहा कि अरे अब ब्रेन को तो सिग्नल चाहिए, अगर नेटवर्क से पहुंचेगा ही नहीं तो तुम्हारे पास डेटा ही नहीं होगा तो तुम करोगे क्या। सो मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर ने कहा कि भाई देखो, अगर तुम्हारे पास, तुमने पता भी कुछ कर लिया बट अगर करने की कुछ क्षमता नहीं है तो क्या फायदा। अब इफ यू लुक एट ऑल द जॉइंट्स एंड ये सब जो है बॉडी में, अब अगर हम लोग ना बनाए तो तुम लोग कर क्या पाओगे। तो सिविल इंजीनियर ने कहा कि भाई देखो, मुझे तो लगता है कि सबसे पावरफुल सिविल इंजीनियर जो होता है, बिकॉज अगर ऐसा ना होता तो who would have designed human body in a way where the recreation area is right next to a sewage pipe? so
good one.
Good.
I think
on that note, I think we should end.
All right.
Yeah, एक बिहारी जोक और बताते हैं, because I'm not Bihari anymore, I can give a Bihari joke.
Yes.
तो इंडिया पाकिस्तान का हमेशा झगड़ा चलते रहता है, right? And then they keep saying कि हमको कश्मीर दे दो, right? इंडिया बोलता है कि कश्मीर मेरा है, पाकिस्तान बोलता है कश्मीर हमारा है, right? तो बेसिकली मोदी जी गए वहाँ पे इमरान खान से मिलने के लिए, और उन्होंने कहा कि भाई ठीक है, इसके बाद में हमारा कश्मीर का प्रॉब्लम सेटल हो जाएगा। तो मीटिंग के बाद में आया और बोला कि ओ इमरान खान हैज अग्रीड कश्मीर विल बी पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया। तो बोला कि भाई क्या किया तुमने कि कश्मीर इज पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया। तो बोला वेरी सिंपल, अमेरिका से सीखा है ये, बाय वन गेट वन फ्री। हमने कहा कि तुम कश्मीर ले लो एंड देन गेट बिहार फॉर फ्री। And then Imran Khan said, no, please keep Kashmir and Bihar, not for me. All right.
I just realized थोड़ा जोक में मेरा वो गड़बड़ हो गया कि the discussion was about whether God is an electrical engineer or mechanical engineer or civil engineer or computer scientist, right?
I think वो civil engineer है God.
Yeah, exactly. That was the conclusion.
I think fourth year का जो कैप्स्टोन प्रोजेक्ट था उसको फेल कर गए थे वो।
Yeah.
All right. Well,
ठीक है,
thank you
चलो.
guys.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
thanks
Chalo,
once
thank you.
again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Great
Hey,
discussion.
Sandy.
Good to see
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Good to
you.
see
Yeah,
you.
bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
before we end, we should say thank you to Sandy. Your